All right, so we'll do a call of order. We'll start the recording.
Recording has started.
Recording started. So we're going to call to order the HVAC IAQ Building Committee meeting for January 6th, 2025. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible. Okay. Well, flag. Look at you. All right. Oh, I didn't pull up the minutes. You get that really quick. Sorry here. I need the minutes because I need to make an amendment.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from, what's the date?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Friday, May 23rd, 2025.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to amend the minutes there are 4 instances where Valley is shown as the voting member instead of Van Duzen. It's on item 2, approval of minutes from 5/9, and 3 instances on the ATP approvals. Sections, Section 5 approvals, Section 14.2.3 and .4 all call out Valley instead of Van Duzen. So my motion is to amend those 4 locations to change it to Rodney instead of Joe.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
And I'll second the motion. Well, that was already seconded. So all in favor of approving the minutes from May 23rd?
Aye.
Aye. Right. Little practice in Robert's rules this morning. Okay. Project updates. Tim, Mark, Osborne Hill, North Stratfield, Woods.
Yeah, sure, I can do it. So right now, we've just been doing a lot of our work on the roof. As I kind of said last call, we were getting into that phase where majority of it's going to be taking place. We've been doing conduits, a lot of conduit running for distribution on North Stratfield, and we are now pushing back over to Osborne this week, or should be today, and then into next week. Fairfield Woods has pretty much already been run because we did a lot of that tunnel work way back when. That was the main chunk of the distribution there, not rooftop. So really, we're moving along. We have everything else set in place. School is out next Wednesday, so we will be ramping up manpower quite a bit between all 3 schools. We're going to start doing the obviously roofing portion of North Stratfield next week once we can start ripping and replacing the existing old roof. And we'll be getting ramping up crews along all 3 schools to start the big summer push. So we did meet with the building inspector yesterday and our electrician just to make sure we're all hashed out for electrical needs this summer as far as inspection and sequencing. So we had a good call there and everything is good to go. We have pre-releases on everything we need for meters and all that important stuff for the new services. And we're currently working with UI right now. We have UI set for the 12th or next Friday to come out and do the pole hold at Osborne so we can continue our transformer install, which will give us our new permanent power to that building. So, and then we'll be cutting over power in the coming couple weeks as well once we continue work there on scope. So moving forward, everything is moving ahead as we are planning to schedule. We need to get a fresh update from Cherry Hill on our interior storefront, which I know we expressed last call was going to be right at the wire. I have not heard back from them yet. I'm going to follow up with them probably today and just try to see if that pushed in at all. The glass is what we're more focused on. The frame should be okay.
Yeah, there's huge concern. There's concern from everybody that gets done.
Yep. Well, I mean, we're going to push Rodney, and I'll keep you guys close in on the updates there. Like I said, it was 12 to 14 weeks. back when we released everything. Typically that's a worst case scenario, but we'll see if they can pull that back at all. And again, the glazing portion of this work it's a 1-day install. So even if we get it at the 11th hour, it's not like it's a week worth of work to do. It's a day to glaze those storefronts. So, and Cherry Hill's very much on board with manpower to make sure we're working simultaneously.
The 11th hour is fine. It's the 13th hour that's concerning.
Yes, don't want to be there. So
No.
we're gonna push to get that in.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
The pole at Osborne, is that a net new pole or is that pole work?
So we had pole hold. Sorry. So it's when we're going to stub the primaries up for UI to do their final conductor pole. We've been having trouble with all the poles being only about 5-6 feet in the ground. So as a precautionary measure, we are just having them bring the truck out that stabilizes it with the claw. So that way, if we start to dig and there's any bit of like loose soil or anything, we don't have to worry about it being an issue where it could collapse or become a safety incident and loss of work day.
They're only 5 feet deep.
Some of them have only been 5-6 feet deep. Yeah, we always originally thought it'd be 8 to 10 feet to really give you a good foot. We've been noticing that they've been a bit shallower. So again, I think when UI puts them in, they're auging them down, so they're not disturbing the mass around it. But when we come in and dig out the mass next to them to stub these conduits up, it's creating a bit of a concern there. So, yeah, at North Stratfield we had that incident in which we did the pole hold back in the fall, and Dale actually saw the pole start to kick a little bit. He saw the slack in the wire, so that's what we backfilled and immediately called off work. So from now on, we've just brought the truck out there to give us that extra security. That's all I have for updates, though.
Okay.
My updates are we've got the movers set for not this coming Monday, the following Monday, the 16th, for the book room at Woods. Met with Gilbane this week to talk about the beginning of the summer schedule and the end of summer schedule. We will be sitting down with the schools this coming week in Sale to discuss basically the end of summer work, and just the timing of everything and making sure, coordinating services and coordinating duties between everybody and making sure everybody has the right amount of time that they need to do what they need to do. And then with Fitz House, we are basically on a holding pattern till the cold season on that.
Right. We need it to get cold, which is the opposite of what's happening. Okay. All right. Any other updates on phase one?
No.
Rodney, any questions on phase one?
No.
Okay. Phase two, Tomlinson updates?
Basically, I sent out the summary last week. We've been doing scope reviews. Basically the scope reviews have gone very smoothly, except for maybe one little hiccup with the demo guy. If we need to go to the second demo guy, there is room. We are under budget, which is good news based on the trade costs and what Gilbane had estimated as the trade costs in their final CD estimate. And we have 5 bid packages plus the roofing allowance coming in from the roof project to do the final top sheet and do the coordination there. So we've added that in, and we're under by about 140 right now, 145 right now.
Yeah, Mark, we are planning on probably de-scoping a second. Joy was supposed to set up with Silcar.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted when we do that. Just to check. We also asked Oscars to confirm the fire protection number was carried in his number. So I think she asked him to let us know that by today.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Okay.
The issue was in there because the fire protection scope is so limited. They put the Gilbane. There's 12 heads maybe in the
I mean, there's like a
classroom
classroom and a couple
corridors.
corridors. It's very minor. Yeah, we put it into the demo scope just to keep it minimal, and it's in sequence with the demo. So we figured they would, they could subcontract it out and bring a person in, and as they demo, turn the heads up. But we're not, he wasn't completely confident. We weren't confident in him that he carried that in his price. So we're just making sure that he has it. Oscars is the demo team on our current phase one, so they've been doing a great job. We just want to make sure that they have it. So we're not concerned about his performance. We're just concerned that he actually carried that bit of scope that he was supposed to do. So, but yeah, we're just double checking, and we'll hopefully have an answer by early next week.
And the language on the scope sheet was pretty clear.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's angling for just angling, but
Okay.
but Gilbane will confirm that he has it. If not, we can scope the second guy.
I'm assuming that delta of 145 is just trade cost, doesn't include anything
Just
else.
trade costs. Yes,
Okay.
correct. That was a comparison I had.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice that we're under, but it's not a huge difference. So, okay. Any other updates in
It's
town?
better than being.
Better than being over. Agreed.
Yep.
Any other updates? Mark, Tim, everybody else good on Tomlinson?
Nope.
All right. Rodney, any questions on Tomlinson?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Pressing on. From an efficiency standpoint, Mark, let's jump in. Let's do invoices first. I'm sorry, I'm throwing you off. Do we have any invoices? I know you said you thought there might be a couple.
Two for Tri-State that I received this week that we can.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept Tri-State Materials testing for Woods. Invoice number TSMT 15623, dated 5/30/2025, in the amount of $315.
Second the motion. Any discussion?
Nope.
All our invoices could be this low. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll second that one, Jeff. Second invoice, Tri-State Materials, Osborne School, I'll make a motion to approve Tri-State Materials testing for Osborne School, TSMT 15737. Date is 5/31/2025, in the amount of $766.
Second the motion. Any discussion?
None.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mark, for the pivot. Okay. So deviating from our normal ATP process a little bit, I had asked Mark to put together a summary of the ATPs and the contingencies. So while much of this is on the FSRs, tried to pull it together into a more concise list. So what I'd like to do is do a little bit of walk through these to get some clarity on them. The idea here was to have, for the building committee to have clarity of the sort of the full set of asks that were going to be coming. So we had understanding and we could approve. When we approved numbers, we understood what was coming and the risks total to contingency budget. And before we go there, for my edification, can someone walk me through the life cycle of an RFI? So for example, a bulletin. So for bulletin 5, for example, what is that life cycle from inception? How does a bulletin get created through to it appears on a ATP to be voted on?
I will start, and I'll let Jesse and Tim fill in. Typically, bulletins are well, the end result of a bulletin is a change to the scope or a clarification of the scope on the drawings. The change comes about, the change or the clarification comes about by a RFI realization of a change that needs to be made on the documents, owner requests, field conditions that are out there. So typically it starts with an RFI or a bunch of RFIs in the same general vicinity that for clarity would justify changing the plans and issuing a bulletin.
Okay, so we sometimes get RFIs that come through as an RFI to be voted on. So is a bulletin
Correct.
then an aggregation of RFIs? Is that an accurate tagline?
Jeff, let me jump in here.
Please.
I think in my mind, a bulletin is more a change that's initiated by the owner or us as a design team versus some field condition. Like an RFI is more a field condition that was found. Like, hey, the existing conditions out here were something's in the way, something's unexpected came up. That's an RFI. We'll respond to the RFI, and then that can be submitted as an ATP just right from that RFI. But that's stuff that's initiated by the contractor, by something they found. If it's something, like I said, if it's something the owner through us as the design team wants to issue as a change, then it starts out as a bulletin instead of an RFI.
Okay. So if I'm the owner and I wanted to, I don't know, add a spaceship landing site on the rooftop, I go to the architect team and I ask for that request, and then you guys design that. You would do the architectural work based on the owner's ask, and then there's a cost incurred. I'm just really trying to understand the exposure and cost and flow here.
Yeah, we would, if we're asked to change something or design something additional, we would modify our drawings to include that piece of the design and then issue that as a bulletin. Okay. So it could be new drawings, it could be new sketches, it could be revisions to existing ones, but it's everything that the contractor doesn't know about this coming yet. So we have to issue it to the contractor, and the bulletin is the method of doing that.
But Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a cost from the design team associated with that, correct?
No, typically we have not charged Fairfield for a lot of these smaller asks that we've been asked to include.
Okay. So conceptually there would be, you guys have chosen not to from a lift and process. Okay.
Yeah. There are companies out there that quote nickel and dime clients for every little tiny change, and then there are companies that don't. You know, we value our relationships a little more than that.
Okay.
Or a lot more than that, sorry.
Okay. Thank you. That was helpful. I've been asked and I didn't have great answers, so I wanted to get clarity, so I had path forward. Okay.
Yeah,
so
Jeff, I'm sorry,
yeah.
if we can just clarify it a little more. Jesse, where did you get your direction from for these bulletins? It didn't come from the building committee.
They would be either, so I know one of them, and I don't remember the exact numbers. One was, we noticed something did not seem like what it should have been on our drawings. Mm-hmm. And we're like, hey, why isn't this shown? We show this typically on a project and we want it included. I think the ductwork at North Stratfield, what was that? There was a little bit of an issue with that. Others are requests not from the building committee, but from Sal and his team. Like Bulletin 5 is one of those. It's like, we didn't coordinate with the front office staffs for their front office layout until the last few months. So this was, more than a year after the bid documents were submitted. So a lot of those wants and needs of the front office staff were incorporated in this bulletin, which we'll see later in today's meeting. Let me,
Right. Thank you.
I think that sums up the two really issues with it. I don't think we need to delve deeper into it. I think it just basically says the same thing, but if we, if we have an exact bulletin, past or present, I'd be happy to describe where it came from, what it's starting with, things like that.
No, I mean, I just had a global question, and I think I got my answer.
It could even be, and sorry, I'm not a structural engineer. I know you are. So if I state this not quite right, but it's kind of like if you design the structural for a building and then later on a third party review, it's happening after the bids have come in, a third party review determines something needs to be changed slightly. You might just proactively say, hey, we have to issue a bulletin to change, this steel connection type of thing.
Hopefully a third party connection or review happens prior to.
I knew that when I was saying it, but
All right.
Anticipating the retort.
yes, we hope our drawings are perfect before they go to bid also, but we strive for perfection and it doesn't always happen. It's tough to do that.
Understood.
Okay, so thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. The Mark, you're going to zoom in a little bit on that document for me. Thank you. Which one are we looking at?
We are at Woods right now.
Okay. So again, this is the list of potential ATPs, I guess is the correct phrasing, right? The change log.
When we do our contingency log, we classify things as pending, in scope, allowance, deferrable. So a pending change order is an encumbrance on the contingency that is could or could not happen, but it's a potential. So we put it on there. What I'm doing on the estimated ATPs, we have that we don't have finals for. I have true ups on just as a placeholder for, hey, we have an estimated ATP out there. It's not final. Hopefully it comes in less. That's why I'm counting them as $1 credit coming back, just as a placeholder. So on here we have a bunch of true ups. We have some RFI generated encumbrances on the contingency log, and then there are a few like the bond reconciliation. Subcontractors don't charge bond on any change orders, so if there's a large difference in contract value for the subcontractor, they come back and ask for a change for the upcharge on the bond. So
okay.
I carry costs on that from the beginning of the project.
Okay. Another just clarifying questions to start this off. So the FSR has some of these numbers on it, and some of the numbers differ. So these numbers are
no. The FSR in this better align.
okay.
I went back through and redid these to align with after our discussion. I went back through and got it. All the encumbered, we classify them as pending or deferrable just because pendings will come up on the FSR as an encumbrance, and it is the plan but not contracted. The deferrable do not count against the contingency, but we carry them on the log to, if there's money at the end, we can call up the deferrable log and say, these are the items that we deferred, but they don't count against the we don't encumber deferrable items on the contingency log.
Okay. Can you scroll up to the header? You have your summary table at the top, just to bring home your point. So the financial
So in
summary
here we
report.
have, yep.
I was
So
going to say
we
the
have
financial
the-
summary report would be reflective of the less the pending issues. So that 399 and the 5,000 would be reflected in the numbers already, and then the deferables, that 208 is not reflected in there. Okay. And this also does not include the construction management contingency, which is outside of this.
Correct. That's already it's in the GMP, and it's
Okay. Down we go. So we'll try to do this as efficiently, but we'll see where we end up with it. So I think you covered the bond reconciliation piece in your preamble,
Yep.
I believe. All three schools have that bond reconciliation line item. We've covered the true up. So I guess we're on 76.
this is a credit. This is an RFI that came through early on that just it's I had it as a credit coming back, so just encumbered it so we can make sure that we received it in somewhere in the ATPs.
Okay.
The
Uh,
painting, we do have an allowance for painting on this job. So I've encumbered these as a pending just because the thought is we may be overrunning the allowance.
What's the allowance?
50,000, I believe, at each school.
Yes, 50,000 per school.
There is paint called out on the plans, and that's what the painting allowance was to pick up that scope.
All right, Tim, do you think we're going to use the full 50 grand?
Yeah, there's some adds to the project as far as gym ceilings and stuff that are priced just higher because of the nature of the work, time and accessibility. So I think at Woods we will definitely go through the allowance. North Strathfield's going to be very tight. Potential overrun, minor overrun, I think, and then Osborne we should still be okay.
Okay. So these are out of scope painting projects, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, move on. 86. Room ceiling height conflict with new HVAC.
This is just encumbrance on the RFI response that the ceiling needs to be lowered to fit the HVAC, and it's just to capture cost on the response. I don't know the particulars of RFI, what rooms it involves at Woods.
Okay, so this is an
RFI
example of a
would've-
field condition. So we found we've identified a situation during work that was deviating from the original understanding, and there's an incremental cost, and there's an RFI being generated to capture the actual cost of that.
And I'm not sure if this was caught in the field or if it was caught during the BIM coordination.
Okay. Did,
And the
did we
RFI
receive an
coming.
ATP on that?
No, we have not. The ATPs that I have are listed in the ATP column. The change order request is Gilbane's encumbrance on their log.
So what is the trigger to realize these? Is it when the work is done? When would that become an ATP or not?
It's too late then.
Sorry,
as the
I was going to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Do you want me to speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Normally, Jeff, like the way Gilbane likes to operate, we like to identify it in the field, get an RFI answered, start pricing, get pricing into you guys at least as an estimated ATP before we proceed with the work. Most of the time, that's how most of these ATPs have worked. There's been a couple where we've kind of had to do the work because it's in such an important sequence. We don't want to shut the job down for a week or something to wait for a meeting. But like for this one, room 95, ceiling height conflict. This is at Woods. Mark,
Yeah.
are we still on Woods on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this one we already gridded every room. So what most likely happened is we had to drop the ceiling down a bit, probably for the ductwork size, and there was probably like a steel joist, something where the duct was a little bit tighter. So again, a minor cost, 5,000. Like we proceeded with the work because we wanted to get everything gridded and just keep our schedule. But normally the bigger ones you see us put through, it's because we want to make sure everyone's on the same page before we do any modification. So this one, RFI 95, was one of our later RFIs. So this definitely wasn't done during like any kind of coordination efforts earlier in the job. So this was definitely like an in the field issue.
Okay. I appreciate that. So when would this? So there's still an RFI. We still have to get so this work was done. We need to get the incremental costs from
the sub. Yeah. Normally we track in the cost. So the reason why you don't have this yet is with RFI 95 being answered, we're chasing in costs from the trade. So probably this one will come in the next like week or so. Probably for the next meeting, we'll have this one wrapped up.
Okay.
And,
I'm just trying
not
to
all
get my
items
head
on this,
around. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
and not all items on this list get realized as ATPs either.
Yep.
Right. Sometimes
This is the worst case scenario.
Yeah, sometimes they go away. Sometimes there's no cost. So we'll open we'll open a change on our log. We'll put a value to it just so we have a placeholder so Mark can see there's an exposure, potential exposure we call it, and then we work with the trade to be like, okay, is this valid? Is there a cost to this? Is this something you're already doing? And sometimes the trades actually come back and say, hey, there's no cost here. We're already in the space. We're just dropping this down a couple inches. It's not a big deal. We get that from them. So yeah, to Mark's point, some of these may not even become realized to you. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And just trying to get my head around some of these procedural things that are understood. 88, it has an ATP number, so I assume
Yep.
that's
This is in the packet for this morning. This is a wire change for the DOAS 1 unit. Basically went from 3/4 conduit to 1-inch conduit with bigger wire size.
Okay. Okay. So
Now,
Bulletin 5. So there's a number of items that are incorporated into Bulletin 5.
correct.
So I guess we need to talk about Bulletin 5 holistically. Is there a short summary of Bulletin 5? Because I assume all of the sub items are not reflected on this list. True?
They are, because sorry about that. They are recognized on it because we do have an ATP on here for Bulletin 5, which these are the pieces and parts of, like, line item 89 is incorporated into Bulletin 5. So that work, if 102 or ATP 49 is approved, this one gets goes away, we'll reject it on my contingency log, and that $16,000 goes back into the pot.
Yeah, all right. So let me ask my
the
question.
contingency.
Wait, I guess so. If I was to add up all of the items that you show here as to be incorporated into bulletin 5, would that total equal 30,806? Or is there more in that 30,806 that's just not explicitly called out? So when we go over 49, which is on the target for today, you have
Yep.
a summary of what's in there. Is it, and there's going to be additional items other than vestibule electrical devices upgrade and anything else that's part of that. Countertop, for example, those two I see immediately. Is that right? Because these don't add up to 30,000.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's additional items in bulletin 5.
Right now in this count, just to reiterate, they're double counted. That portion of it is double counted.
They are double counted.
Okay. Ronnie, do you have a preference if we dive into bulletin 5 now, or do you want to wait until the ATP review?
Why don't we finish this up and then we can go into the ATP?
Fair enough.
I think.
Yeah, we go back and forth. That was one of the thoughts. Okay, that's fine. That works. Okay, boiler sleeves.
Bullet sleeves or bollard sleeves. I believe this one can go away. This was a request in lieu of painting the bollards to put the plastic sleeves over the top of them. The bollards are painted, so we will not be looking to change them out to plastic sleeves. So this one I believe can basically go away.
Okay. Lost my place.
RFI 71 lighting control switch clarification. This is to put lighting controls in the classrooms that daylight harvesting is required. There are, due to the size of the room and the number of windows, I'm looking at Jesse to give me the thumbs up or thumbs down on that, is the reason why we have the lighting control switch in those rooms only. Everywhere else, the classrooms are your basic light switch. And our daylight harvesting is not required.
Right. I don't see an ATP for this.
So it's estimated, and it has not come through yet from the electrician.
Okay, is this work being done now?
We're going to be, Rodney, we're getting that price in probably early next week. There's 6 classrooms at Woods that are affected, and I think 3 at Osborne. It's not a very vast amount of work, but yes, we are going to get that so we can start that ASAP.
Okay, good. So this is a great example from a process perspective. This was listed as a potential cost. The RFI has been issued. The electrician's working on the details. The expectation is you guys are going to come back with a more defined number as part of that RFI. Once that number comes back in, the ATP is presented as an estimate.
Or fixed, depending on how far along we are with this wasn't a priority because we weren't doing this work till the summer anyways, so we were making sure we got other priorities priced out. But yeah, now this is on our radar, so we're tracking it in for hopefully early next week.
Okay.
Line items 92 and 93.
Hey, Mark,
This is, yes.
can you go back and explain that again? I'm confused as to why we're dealing with daylight harvesting when this was fully designed a long time ago. Sorry, I was just blindsided by the whole daylight harvesting.
Jesse, was
Well,
this
it's
part of the
RFI. It's
design
RFI
package?
71.
So was it a
Yeah,
long
so-
time ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was just trying to remember what was going on with that.
Yeah, Jesse, that was part of that. That was part of what we're trying to do here, right? Because I feel like a lot of these this was like the poster child for this whole conversation, right? So yeah, these are known, they're out there, and
Mhm.
that's why I wanted to go through this so we have clarity of potential expenses coming through, and we don't just keep getting 11,000 here, 4,000 there. That was the idea. But okay, so to your point,
Okay.
this is old, and it's been something you guys talked about a long time ago. We're just
Okay.
it hadn't.
No.
To Tim, echoing Tim, it wasn't priority, Tim, so it hasn't really gotten any legs until more recently, right?
Sounds
But
good.
please, on ATPs that need approval, you need to give us time to review it and digest it. I mean, in the past, we've gotten these things shoved down our throat, and I am beside myself when that happens. So if you need it done, get an ATP to us ASAP so that we can either review it and approve it or have questions. Because I'm tired of sitting in this meeting and going, well, you know what? You need to approve it today because it's happening next week. And if it doesn't happen next week, then we're behind schedule. Where a lot of this stuff has been a year or more in the works. Okay.
So it sounds like then to address that, what would have to happen is we would have to have access to the RFI itself, right? Because there is no ATP yet for this one because you guys don't have your numbers and the electrician hasn't come back, but you do have an RFI. So you could issue the RFI to the committee with that, what I assume has more detail than 5 words, right?
Correct.
All right,
I,
so
I, I
Mark,
can I can maintain this log, the pending log as well, and get it to you, the committee, and we can
yeah,
go through
create a
an
folder where we
exercise like
put those
this.
RFIs and call those out
Correct.
and sort of
Correct.
once they're issued, we can take a look at them. Okay.
I mean, the next two are a good point. We're seeing these for the first time today, and the proposal was received in March.
I had them in the folder last meeting, and I believe I had them in back in April.
If it's not on the list,
And
I'm not going to review it. If it's not an ATP, I
Okay.
mean, I get 500 pages
Okay.
from you every Thursday, and I'm expected to go through everything on a Thursday before a Friday meeting. That's impossible. I have other work to do.
Yeah. So in hindsight, it would have been great to have done this walkthrough again. Lesson learned for me. This will be something we'll have to go through from the beginning, and then any changes that occur to it. So, Mark, I would ask any adds to this log. Make sure we'll have to add an agenda item that we can review new potential expenses.
Yep.
And we'll talk about them up front, even if they're not realized, that we'll just have visibility into them and background information can be issued. On option 1, option 2, just to call out, they're not mutually exclusive options, right?
correct. We can do one without option 2. We cannot do option 2 without option 1. So the cost on option 2 is additive, added to option 1. I did not show it as a separate total.
So this is shown as an owner's request. So was the thermostat upgrade just not part of the original scope when the original BOE issuance of the project? Was that?
These are the these are the existing spaces that we are not touching on this job. This was, I mean, this was discussed when we received the initial proposal back in June of last year. We discussed it, said, yeah, this is a good idea, but we'll push it to the spring of 25 towards the end of the project to see if we want to do it. So there are 106 thermostats in Woods and only 10 in Osborne that are in spaces that we do not touch as part of this project.
And if we didn't do this work, then those existing areas do not get to leverage or are not optimized to use the new functionality for the internal air quality and humidity controls.
That's part of
true,
it,
is it?
yes.
Is that fair, Jesse?
I was gonna say no. This is to replace existing thermostats, which are mostly radiator control valves for heating. Everything that's being installed as part of this project has new controls.
Sure.
That's included in the base contract. So this price to me is to connect everything else existing in the building to the BMS. So the BMS is existing. Scope of work is just to connect all the new equipment to it and control the new equipment. This is above and beyond that to control everything else in the building. It's similar to North Stratfield, where we're putting in a new BMS and controlling everything, both new equipment and existing equipment. But that was only because the BMS was new. So the other two schools, the BMS was existing. So the scope was just to control the new equipment.
Okay, but the existing is still controlled by the BMS, correct?
Yes. Sorry, it's an existing BMS system at Osborne and Fairfield.
Yes, an existing BMS, but these existing rooms are still controlled by the ones we're not touching are still controlled by the existing BMS.
I think.
Is that true?
I believe so.
Okay.
Again, the heating system was totally outside our scope, so we didn't really investigate it too much. It'd be something easy to see if just walking through for a couple of minutes, though.
If I could jump in, it's Sal.
Perfect.
So Osborne Hill and Fairfield Woods have ABS Allergen control system in them now. They are older. We are putting, we're building a 2025 model, and some of the stuff, and very specifically at Fairfield Woods, goes back as far back as '93, I believe, 2 large renovations ago. So, we're dealing with some legacy items that, let's say, don't give us optimal control. So it's not it's not the 21st century, nice, bright, shiny new what we have for the work that this building committee is doing. So it is a good idea. I mean, within the 4 corners of this project, if the funding allows, and I think that's the statement that we made back when we first got this, that it makes sense, but let's see what the money's looking like later on in the project. And we're fine with this, but I would strongly recommend that we take this on, and it's no savings to the town as far as we could do much better controls strategy throughout the building for energy conservation while keeping up the indoor air quality, and possibly be making improvements on indoor the control of indoor air or ventilation within those I'll call them legacy spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, at 30 years old, it's approaching, the end of its expected life. So there'll be costs associated with keeping it running if it's not done. but it's not required. Sal said it much more eloquently than I did, I think.
That was one of my questions though. Sal was sort of subtle in they're older, but so 30 years.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, as far Osborne Hill and Fairfield Woods originally got their BMS systems in Fairfield Woods was 1993 renovation, and Osborne was in 1996. I'll call it the 2011 project brought on, Fairfield Woods brought on new equipment. And so some of those items are now 14 years old.
Okay.
They run, but again, it's, you're driving your 1993 car with, 273,000 miles on it.
That's a good
They're near
analogy.
end of
So-
life, let's put it that way. So
Electronic
$50
term,
was-
this is vintage equipment.
yeah, it's
So just let me clarify. The
It's bell bottom.
BMS system is 30 years old.
at 32 years old at Fairfield Woods.
Okay,
30.
so now we're connecting
29.
all this new equipment into a 30-year-old BMS system.
No, the
And-
front. So the front end is being upgraded with this. So we're plugging back in. So you have to picture this as a big spider. It goes all the way out to a controller at a piece of equipment. So we got the controller, the wiring. It'll come into a sub module, that'll gather it all up, and then it'll go all the way to the front end. So we'll have a nice new front end that's plugging all the new equipment, from a new piece of equipment all the way to the front end. It's brand new. From that new front end all the way out to the piece of equipment that was controlled 30 years ago, it's all old stuff going out. So it's kind of like lipstick on a pig at that point. It'll work, but it's not. Now's the time to do it. We have it. We have it mobilized. It makes sense, and it's it's like buying a new house and painting all the rooms, even though they were all painted. You do it.
All right, Tim, when does this work have to be completed by? And how long does it take to install these?
Sorry, what was that?
What is the timeline for this new ABS system?
I don't actually have a timeline on that.
I would
A rough-
actually.
a rough guesstimate.
I'd have to talk to ABS, to be honest. I don't know.
But it's this summer, right?
Yeah, it might fall into the fall. They might be doing final connections in the fall, I would think, because they have because right now they have none of these devices ordered. There's a lot of work that's going to it, so it's controlled. It'll be part B of the controls, but it'll be within the four corners of this project.
Do you
It's just,
use the same wiring? Or is it all new wiring as well?
no, we're specifying new wiring, correct, Mark?
So you got to run through the seals,
Correct.
and you have the
And
ceilings
we're-
open now.
Yeah, and wires are easy to get. So here again, they might be running doing their runs this summer while the equipment's on order, and landing devices later on off hours. It depends on how fast they get the equipment and the manpower and all that. Like Tim said, he'd have to talk to them, but realistically, because we're going through other control projects in the district outside of these IAQ projects, and the work gets done off hours. It's not unusual for that kind of work to happen. It's non-intrusive if you can, because you're working up at a unit, putting a controller on it, landing the wire that you pulled during the summer, and you're just bringing it up to a unit and things like that. So it can work out in a non-disruptive manner.
Yeah, Sal, this is a direct to FPS scope, right? Because this wasn't really, this isn't under our contract. So I
This
just
doesn't go
wanna-
through Gilbane.
Right, yeah. What we're doing this summer has nothing to
Oh.
do with this. Yeah, I just want to make sure if there was any type of putting it into us, we'd have to know about it immediately, but I don't think there's.
Right. You're gonna, you have Allerton through Ferguson. They probably
Right.
own the controls work. Allerton, since they have a relationship with FPS, because we have 4 buildings that have ABS already, and North Stratfield will make number 5. They came to us and said now's the time. It's
Right.
They know
I
our,
just want
they
to make
know
sure
our
that-
difficult.
But this,
Yeah,
They
these
know our
costs and
difficulties.
scopes- Right, these costs and scopes work are not necessarily a Gilbane managed
Right, you don't have
thing
to
at the
step
moment.
up.
Yeah, it's going to be continuation, Ronnie. I just want to make sure we're clear. Like what we're doing this summer does not necessarily involve this specific.
Okay.
I
I mean,
guess, you know.
I apologize. I didn't know that. It's not
No, it's
clear
okay.
here.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page because I that's why I wouldn't have the time frame off the top of my head based on.
No, building out, I don't, reading this through, I don't see any, it's not implicitly called out that there's new wiring. I don't know if that's implicitly because the old wiring wouldn't work, therefore it'd have to be new wiring. This doesn't mention anything about wires, new control wiring at all. So I don't know if that's in scope or not. And I'm also concerned if we're talking about removing ceiling tiles, we're going to have damage, right? So if we're talking about running these into areas that,
Right. Yeah. I apologize.
I wasn't sure if that was.
so that's my other concern with this is from a timing perspective, having to pop ceiling tiles again to run cable, wire, whatever you want to call it. So I guess we need clarification, I guess, on that. I mean, I would rather, if we're going to do it and we're going to run new, and we have to run new wire, we don't want to pull that
Yeah,
forward.
I don't.
because-
Yeah, I don't know exactly which wire is needed, but I'm not that much of a technician on that. I don't know if it's some of this stuff is old Cat 3 or something else, and it needs to be Cat 5 or Cat 6. So that's something to be clarified. As far as the timing with the ceiling and everything, I mean, we can, if there are new wires, make sure that they come and do their main draws while the grid's open in the part B of phase 1, and then put them off until such time that we're 100% and that we tell them, you walk in here, it's damage, it's yours. It's something that can be handled. Let's put it that way. I appreciate your concern for the ceilings since they've been such a big.
Well, I mean, it was 5% damage rate before. I mean, I don't know how many they would touch, but it would be, now we're talking about another.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're looking at it. It's 10 scope of work. Is this, which one is this?
this is
Mark?
Osborne.
This is Osborne.
Most of my experience with ABS where they've had to go back into like Osborne or anything to do back, to trace back work, it's been like one tile, 2 tiles. I think a lot of the issues we had at the other school was a lot of comeback work from phase 1 with Ferguson, which is why we had the back charges from them. So whenever this gets done, I think it can be managed to Sal's point, to keep it, minor disruption, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. I got things to do.
Yeah, ditto. All right, so from this perspective, true up, we'll cover that. Vestibule
Bulletin
revisions. That's the bulletin 5. We're going to talk about ATPs.
Yep. And these are,
This is
105
similar.
is is a recent RFI that hasn't worked through the process that we've encumbered monies on. 106 is part of Bulletin 5, and then 110 is a true up.
Okay. Okay, so let's jump over to the ATP approval sheet if we can. You're going to zoom in for me. Thank you. Okay. So we just went through Fairfield Woods, yeah?
Yes.
So let's do, so 45. I'm going to hang my hat on this one. All right. So it's a for information only because it is an actual off an estimate and we saved $25.
Thanks.
All right. The second one, ATP 046.
This is for the wiring change for and conduit size for DOAS 1. The provisions on it were what 3/4 inch conduit and a smaller gauge wire. The specs for the unit calls for larger gauge, so the larger conduit is required. And this is the upcharge.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve ATP 046 RFI 106 DOAS 1 conduit. It's coming from contingency in the amount of 4,604 and no cents.
Second the motion. Any additional discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
ATP 48 is the gym ceiling painting. This the no provisions on the plans to paint the gym ceiling. This is a request to basically equity across the board. At Mill Hill, we ended up painting the gym ceiling black. This is a prime coat in plus 2 top coats for basically a week and a half worth of work in there at $35,815, and this is estimated.
Hmm. Jeff, any discussion on this? I'm inclined to hold these back, 48 and 49, until we can get some answers.
What's the impact of that from a painting in Bulletin 5, which we haven't talked through yet, but it's a painting. If that's not approved this week, is there impact to schedule?
The painting, I think we could probably do if we want to wait till the next meeting, because again, I don't want you guys to have pressure on you, and it's just paint. There's no lead time for paint. It's just getting manpower. Bulletin 5, I definitely want to at least like try to get some sort of, again, it's an estimated approval because we do have like flooring we have to release and stuff like that, which is about 4 or 5 weeks lead time. So it will become a little bit of a tight issue with the flooring. Part of Bulletin 5 is also millwork, which is not so much of an issue, and also painting, which again is not so much of an issue. But I'm more concerned about like the floor and stuff that we have to get released. 48, Rodney, if you want to hold it till next call, we can definitely do that.
I would, Jeff, propose tabling ATP 048 exposed gym ceiling until a future meeting. I'll make a motion to table it.
Okay, very good.
ATP 048.
I'll second the motion sort of silly to vote on motions that you and I both make the motion, second motion, but okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we'll table 48 till next time. Hopefully we'll get Joe as well. I will make the commitment, everyone, that I will try to connect with Joe to see if he has any questions around these documents, so we don't we can streamline our next meeting. All right, bulletin 5. So just for my own just level setting here, this was work that we knew we had to do back in the beginning, but we didn't know the details of it because we deferred the conversations with the front office team to figure out exactly what we were going to do. And so this is an ATP to address those now defined work, correct? Type of floor, whatever, millwork, painting. Is that an accurate summary?
Yes.
Do we have a short 30-second version of what's in bulletin 5 by any chance? I know we had the other items, right? Sorry for this. My side profile here, I'm looking at another monitor, so it's a little bit far off. For the meeting, you want to explain what vestibule electrical devices are?
I can do
You
that.
want me to jump in?
Well, the electrical devices, the electrician has the back boxes and conduit for the whole project for cameras, security devices, and all that. This is the previously you approved AST's proposal for the cameras, the A-phones, and electrical devices. This is the back boxes and conduits for those.
So what's this cost? If we've approved everything already, what is the $16,000 for?
This is the back box and conduit for those devices. The AST had the parts and smarts.
So,
And-
Ronnie, in the initial drawings, there wasn't certain things were called out, but it wasn't on the actual electrical drawings. It was just like new A phone, new this, new that. So Ferguson wouldn't have carried that. There was no spec, there was no nothing for it. So when that work was actually then formalized and baked into this, there's the extra work that they now have to do. They wouldn't have owned those things because it wasn't on the electrical drawings at the time. It was just essentially on the vestibule drawings, just called out as a finish item.
102, it says here, main office and vestibule changes include field conditions, which are what? I'm looking at your log.
Field conditions, there's a header above the interior set of doors that was an RFI to support the interior framing, or the exterior frame. That when Cherry Hill was going through, the header needs to be modified to accept the glass. It was covered up, the glass frame or the framing for the glass, because it was covered up.
It's a field
that's
condition.
Owner requested items. What is that?
For woods, there was the initial plans called for the main office proper. There's a corridor, there's a hallway leading back to other offices that the school wants now to have the flooring the same as the main office proper. and have that hallway painted.
Mark, there's more to that. I don't know how much detail you want. There's items like, moving the mailboxes, moving things like that. Really laying out the front office the way the staff who works there wants it laid out, which like I was saying earlier in this meeting was just coordinated within the last 2-ish months here.
And errors and omissions. What is that?
Why did I say that? Well, going back to the electrical devices, the device is shown, wasn't shown on the electrical drawings as such for the electrician to carry.
Okay, and then RFI 127 countertop request information. What is that?
This is, there's a countertop at the transaction window. This was, on this one, I believe they wanted to match the existing countertop that they have. So this is a change for changing the countertop that was back to the countertop that they currently have. Because the part of the countertop that they currently have is being moved within the main office proper.
All right. In the future, I want to see these costs broken out, not just a lump sum. And I want detail. We had no detail on this. Main, changes in, changes, field conditions. What were the field conditions? We're approving this. This is really out of scope stuff, except for the field changes. And I'm just concerned that if we ever get audited and we're approving this stuff, it's beyond our
Yeah.
mandate.
Yeah, I think the clarity of understanding what would have been in scope. Again, I think a lot of this was called out as work that was going to be done. We just didn't know exactly what the work would be. I think is the way it was perceived.
To jump into Fairfield Woods a little bit more, I mean, the paint job is a little bit self-explanatory in that it was within view, and that was a principal request. Can we make it all coherent, because it's a very open space? I believe you've been there and seen the main office. It wouldn't look correct. Some of the other changes that were made, while they said we will modify an existing countertop that literally was just put in, I think within 3 years, we're going to take it, shorten it, rotate it 90 degrees. We're good there. But what that didn't take into account was it went right where our copier was. So now our copier has to be moved. Where does that get moved to? The best place for it displaced the secretary, which moved the desk over. So, it was the flow of the space so that we can use the security window to the security vestibule. And it was, as Jesse said, it was fine tuning and getting more information from the actual people that are going to live into the space. So as far as being within scope, yes, it's work that's necessary to, one, coordinate the office to the security vestibule and the security window, because it totally changes the path of the staff within the space and how they function in the space, where equipment actually is, actually where they physically sit will change, which means the drops for their computer and power have to move. There's file cabinets that were underneath the countertop that we built 3 years ago that needed to be relocated. So that's what's being captured for the Fairfield Woods one. When we get the only thing that I would say that is more deferrable was extending the painting, which was a small number, if I recall, because it's not that much space that would have to be done, especially such a mobile, big cost. A lot of it is just hardened millwork and electrical drops primarily. When we get to North Stratfield and Osborne, can explain some of those also. But it is to synchronize the office space with the new security window and vestibule.
So maybe another way of phrasing is in the future, maybe we can get a better narrative or summary marketing document, whatever you want to call it, right? So that there's a validation. I hear you, and it's what the principals are asking for and whatever's being asked for, but how do we validate that it's not a chandelier and a wine refrigerator and whatever that's being asked for and coming through? I'm using egregious examples, by the way, to make my point. I'm not insinuating anybody asked for those things, but I guess that'd be the problem is,
No,
there's 45 pages of document in here, but that's a lot.
Right. I appreciate what you're asking, the questions you're bringing up. I appreciate them a great deal. I understand your position. It's a fine tuning of the spaces. Was it timely? I don't think it was as timely as it should have been. So, I get with that, but we got to the point where we need to be. I thought we wrapped this up. I thought we got by this already. So again, the wheels of ATP, RFI, PCO production. We're government and we're here to help you. It could have been there a little bit more ago.
Well, actually, I mean, the drawings that Jesse produced were just about a year old, I think. Is that correct, Jesse?
The original bid documents were January 24, but
No, I think these drawings for Bolton 5 were done on June 2004. 24, sorry.
we initiated Bulletin 5 back in March of this year.
Was it March?
But then,
Okay.
but
Well,
then since then, we updated it more and more. Like in March, we were just coordinating not the user pieces of the front office. We were doing just minor revisions to other items, and then we met with the staff. We wanted to include all of those in the bulletins. We added more to it to do that piece. So we've been working on this bulletin now for more than 3 to 4 months probably. And Sal really summed it up before quite well. It's a matter of just getting buy-in about the workflow of the offices from the people who use the space and how to best use that.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept ATP 049 Bulletin 5 vestibule and front office revisions. It's coming out of contingency. Estimated cost of $30,806.
Second the motion. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To move this along, I'm going to make a motion to table ATP 040 ceiling gym painting. It's coming from allowance. It's an estimated cost of $38,614.
Second the motion. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to accept ATP 041 bullet 5, vestibule and front office revisions coming from contingency. This is an estimated cost, $46,208.
Second the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Osborne. Oh, okay, never mind.
No painting there.
What's the electrical room domestic water conflict? Domestic water conflict. RFI 114.
That was, yep, in the new switchgear room, there was existing 4 or 5 different water lines in that above ceiling in that room. This is the cost to relocate those water lines away from the switchgear. And I'm pulling up these are the existing water lines that are in the room prior to the switchgear being installed. And these are those same existing water lines that are running over the top of the switchgear. They will be shortened along the wall that is not shown, basically where along the cursor, and relocated away from the switchgear.
I'll make a motion to approve ATP 021 RFI 114 new electrical room. Domestic water conflict. It's coming from contingency. Estimated cost $27,175.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to accept ATP 022 bulletin 5 vestibule and front office revisions coming from contingency. This is an estimated cost for $457.
Second the motion. Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Rodney, this is the ABS proposal work. The option with the options of CO2. So I don't know if you want to read through this one more, if you're comfortable with that number now, if you want to table it till next week.
Definitely not comfortable with the number.
So given the size of it, we'll hold on this. We'll table this until Joe is back as well. I'd like to get his input on this one.
Yeah, I would like to review the numbers and whatnot.
And then if I would ask if we can get clarity on the timing, well, I guess you guys don't think it's a concern, so I won't force the issue. I was going to say about the wiring, but control wires. But if you believe that that's in scope and the damage to any ceiling tiles will be minimal, then we'll deal with it later. Okay.
And Jeff, just to that point, I mean, we did a building management update, Ludlow High School 2 years ago. You know, it's a 330,000 square foot space. We didn't have issues with the ceiling tiles. I mean, as was explained.
That's great.
They lift one tile at a time, and they're pretty good about it. So I'm comfortable.
I became jaded from Ferguson's rough hands in the original
Right.
work. Yeah.
Jeff, I 100% get it. I'm there with you. But I just wanted to throw that out. And as far as the dollar value
Because
is
this isn't part of
reasonable.
Gilbane's. This isn't part of Gilbane, so there's going to be no punch list that's going to be covered by Gilbane. So it's going to be on you to chase the sub to
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
for damage. So
Understood.
then,
Yes.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay, all right. We did invoices. Old business. We covered all that already. Ronnie, any old business on your side that we didn't hit?
No.
I don't think so. Okay. Any new business? I have none. Rodney?
Just one item. Everybody should wish Jeff a happy birthday. Today's his
Oh,
birthday.
happy birthday, sir.
38.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Jeff.
Happy birthday.
I thought
That's
it was-
1 year.
I thought it was
1 year younger than
27.
me, Jeff.
Yeah. Get better at lying as you get older. All right. Thank you.
That's it for me.
All right. All right. I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Very good. All right. All in favor?